Welcome to this meeting of Council, the meeting where we live streamed and recorded, and the voices and images of those participating in the meeting may be captured as part of this recording. Indigo Shire Council acknowledges the original custodians of these lands. The people of the rivers and the hills have walked these lands for thousands of years as well as today, and we pay respect to the elders of the past, present and emerging. As councillors, we have all taken an oath to carry out our duties in the best interests of the people of Indigo Shire and to do this in a fair and impartial manner. We are all committed to exercising the council's powers and functions to the best of our skill and judgment. So apologies and leave of absence. We have our CEO, Trevor Ireno, who is on leave. So in his place, we have Acting CEO, Ian Ellett, and in the Director of Infrastructure's place, Acting Director, Ewan Oldmeadow. Any declarations of conflict of interest today? No. And before we go any further, we just thought we might mention the reason that we're wearing the orange T-shirts. So it's a part of our 16 days of activism against gender-based violence campaign. So this is an international campaign that is held annually from November 25th to December 10th. The theme for 2022 is Respect Women, Call It Out. And that's what's written on our T-shirts. The Call It Out campaign aims to raise awareness about gender-based violence and promoting conversations about respect for relationships. Disrespect can play out in our homes, workplaces, schools, sporting clubs, communities, and in the places we socialise. By calling out disrespect, sexism, and other forms of discrimination early, we can stop violence before it starts. Gender equality is one of the primary drivers of gender-based violence and family violence. We also know that other intersecting forms of discrimination, including racism, ageism, homophobia, transphobia, and colonialism, are drivers of violence. In Australia right now, the stats show that 1 in 4 women have experienced violence by an intimate partner since the age of 15. And Indigo Shire is supporting this campaign through local events with health services, social media posts and videos, and councillors and EMT will wear the orange T-shirts for tonight's meeting. For more information on the campaign, please visit respectvictoria.vic.gov.au. So that's just a bit of a summary of why we're wearing these tonight. And you'd see a couple of the events that are happening in our community that'd be advertised through all of our communications. So next we'll move to open forum, and we have questions from Alex Campbell and Robin McLeish. So I'll start with the questions from Alex Campbell and I'll read them out. So these questions are in relation to agenda item 11.2. What is the purpose of an independent traffic impact assessment? So would you like all these 3 questions? Yep. So the second question, does council know if and how a new 59-lot subdivision in Rutherglen will impact existing roads and road use in the surrounding area outside of the land allocated for the subdivision? And the third question, before a planning permit is issued for a significant 59-lot subdivision in Rutherglen, shouldn't the recommendations of a traffic impact assessment report be known and articulated to enable councillors to consider all aspects of the application and ensure that the required conditions are included on a planning permit? The Director of Planning and Corporate Services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll answer all 3 in one, and I'm just got be succinct going through my head. In answer to all 3, the planning process starts broad and narrows down. So there was a development plan done previously for this land, and that talked in more general terms. The report for tonight's meeting is about the subdivision plan and does that meet with the development plan that was previously adopted. If this is adopted tonight, it then moves into a further stage of getting into more detail on traffic assessments, drainage design, and the real infrastructure part of it. So the first question is, what's the purpose of the traffic assessment report? It's to take it from the subdivision design and move towards the engineering design and provide the detailed information there. Does council know how a 59 lot subdivision will impact the roads? In general terms, yes, that's something that was looked at in the development plan. In general terms, it's looked at in this report, but not to the specifics of what needs to be done where and when. And that's where the traffic impact assessment report would then advise council and guide the actual infrastructure that needs to be put onto the ground. The third questions are really, well, they're all good questions, but the third question's a really pertinent one. Should we have that information before deciding on the subdivision? That's a difficult one, because in a perfect world, you have all of the information at each of these stages. The problem that we have is that until the subdivision plan is set, we don't know what to call the traffic impact assessment on. So this subdivision started off at 66 lots. What's presented tonight is 59 lots, and it may be altered or amended tonight as council looks at it. And so a traffic impact assessment done previously would have been on 66 lots. Do we do it on 59? So until the subdivision is approved, it's best to hold off on the specific details in the traffic assessment report. The other aspect to this is that a lot of planning permits, particularly for big subdivisions, sometimes take a little while to get to fruition. We've got some very old ones in Indigo Shire where it's many, many years from the planning permit approval to when works commence. So if we got the traffic impact assessment done today, for example, it may or may not be relevant in years to come when the development is starting. So having it in a condition in the planning permit allows for that to be done in a more timely manner before the works commence. So that's the reason why it's done, but I do acknowledge that it would be nice to have all of that information up front right now.
Thank you. Our second question is from Robin McLeish. Our governance rules require that the person asking the questions be present. And I note that Robin is not here, so we will leave that one. That concludes open forum, and we ask, is there any community and council achievements? No? Any condolences? No. Item 8 is confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. The recommendation is that the minutes of the council meeting held on October the 25th, 2022, as published on council's website, be confirmed. Can I have someone to move that? Moved by Councillor Croucher, seconded by Councillor Tyson. Would you like to speak? Anybody against? Carried. The second recommendation is that the minutes of the statutory meeting held on the 22nd of November 22, as published on council's website, be confirmed. Can I have someone to move that? Moved Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Horn. Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to speak?
I do. I'd like to congratulate you on being 7-0 voted in as the mayor, and to Councillor Gaffney too as deputy. Congratulations.
Thank you. Councillor Horn, do you wish to say anything? Is anyone against? Carried. Item 9 is business arriving from the previous minute, and there is a question from Councillor Horn and an answer provided in the agenda. Item 10 is petitions. No petitions received. We move on to item 11, planning and corporate services. Item 11.1 is the October 2022 finance report. The recommendation is that council accepts the October 2022 finance report. Could I have someone to move that? Moved Councillor Gaffney, seconder Councillor Croucher. Councillor Gaffney.
The October finance report shows that Indigo Shire Council is $685,000 favourable on a year-to-year basis compared to 2022-2023. Our financial position is still favourable to forecast.
Councillor Croucher, would you like to speak?
I would just like to accept the October finance report, as the financial position is favourable to the forecast. And the bottom line is a favourable incident to that forecast. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Moving on to item 11.2, planning permit application PP 220074 144 Reedy Street, Rutherglen. It's an item for decision. The recommendation is that council issues a planning permit for the 59 lot subdivision of land at 144 Reedy Street, Rutherglen, and the removal of native vegetation subject to conditions at attachment 6. Do I have someone to move that? Moved by councillor.
I'd like to move an amendment to that.
An amendment? Okay,
Yep.
what's your amendment?
My amendment is that council issues a planning permit for the 59 lot subdivision of land at 144 Reedy Street, Rutherglen, and the removal of native vegetation, subject conditions, attachment 6. Number 2, provides letters received during this planning process to council's infrastructure team for consideration prior to the certification of plans required in condition 1.
Okay, so That's
That's the motion.
the motion now. So it's not an
Second.
amendment, that is the motion. So you're moving that motion and it will be seconded by councillor Goldsworthy. Would you like to speak to the motion?
We've had a number of people have sent in submissions with concerns regarding the traffic assessment and other drainage concerns. And I can really understand, we had quite a discussion about our concerns around wanting to know in the first case what that statement's going to say. But this, I think Greg Pinkerton has given us quite a good background as to why we can't do one beforehand. But I think if we include the submissions that came with their concerns, I think are quite reasonable concerns, and they are part of the discussion when this is reviewed by the infrastructure team. I think that might be of assistance.
Councillor Goldsworthy, you'll reserve your right. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Horn.
Yes, I think there are a great deal of concerns throughout the community about traffic and also the flooding issues. So, yeah, this needs to be investigated and comments made from the community included in the discussions. I think it's very positive.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Gaffney.
The conditions that are sent out are quite large and very important. We've taken on board the correspondence coming from the community, and if the conditions aren't met, this subdivision will not commence.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Goldsworthy, you reserved your right. No. Councillor Shepherd, would you like to sum up? No. So I'll put the motion as set out by Councillor Shepherd. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 11.3 is the planning permit application PP 210142 for Fleury Court, Beechworth. It's an item for decision. The recommendation is that council refuses planning permit application PP 210142 and issues a notice of decision to refuse a permit for the 2-lot subdivision and covenant removal at number 4 Fleury Court, Beechworth on the following grounds. 1, restrictive covenant. The subject land is burdened by covenant M757290C dated 23rd of March 1987 that, among other things, restricts the development of the land for one dwelling only. The responsible authority is not satisfied that the proposed removal of covenant is unlikely to result in detriment, including perceived detriment being suffered by the beneficiaries of the covenant. Number 2, public interest. The objections lodged by owners who are beneficiaries to the covenant have not been made vexatiously nor in bad faith within the meaning of section 65B of the Planning and Environment Act, 1987. Do I have someone who would like to move that? Councillor Tyson, do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Tyson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, as set out, people who have actually invested and bought properties adjacent to this have done so with the covenant in place. And to remove it now would be against any sort of amenity that they had planned for. They would have landscaped their properties and faced their properties according to where this covenant is put in. And I don't think it would be very fair or practical to remove it and adversely affect the adjoining landowners. Thank you.
Councillor Shepherd, would you like to speak as the seconder? Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Tyson, would you like to sum up?
No, thank you. That's all I have to say.
So I'll put the motion for refusal. All those in favour? And against? So I'll just take that again. All those in favour, Councillor Shepherd, Tyson, Price, Gaffney, Horn, Croucher, and against, Councillor Goldsworthy. Motion is carried. Item 11.4, planning permit application PP 210185. It's for 2117.
I would like to move an alternate motion to the one that's in the agenda, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Gaffney.
Under section 65G1C of the governance rules, I would like to have this matter deferred until the satisfaction of that condition, and that condition being that the owner and members of the planning staff, including the director, commence discussions with council regarding the conditions of this permit.
Would somebody like to second that? Councillor Shepherd? Councillor Gaffney, would you like to speak? No? Councillor Shepherd?
Procedural motion?
For deferral? Yes? No. Thank you. Okay, so we'll take a vote. The motion is to defer in line with the condition that Councillor Gaffney has read out. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 11.5, planning permit application PP 210315 46 Laurie Road, Beechworth. Councillor Tyson. You'll need your microphone on.
Yes, I'd like to move a separate motion, please. This may take a while. So I'd like to move that the planning application for the use and development of animal boarding at 46 Laurie Road be subject to the following conditions, and that it's subject to approval.
Councillor Goldsworthy, you have a question?
Is he required to read out the entire
I think that was,
five pages?
I think that's his intention.
Or can it be done like we say we have received an email of an alternate motion as provided by the planning manager, and we've all received a copy of it.
Yep.
Are we able to just discuss that without having to have it all read out to us?
So yes, I'll let you continue, but if you'd like to just read the headings of all the conditions, if you like. But if you'd like to start again so that it's up to you whether you read the whole thing, basically.
What I'll do is I'll just read the headings of, and I won't read the body of, if that's okay.
Just a question, Madam Mayor, is this I thought the motion had just been read out and the other part was the conditions, or are the conditions part of the motion?
The conditions are part of the motion.
Conditions are part of the motion. Okay. That there are plans required to be submitted to council is being, that there needs to be the layout needs to not be altered. Or the external materials and colours need to be addressed. Operational and market management and a management manual need to be supplied. 6 and 1 that was A priority with some of the objectives was waste. 7 is car parking. 8 is no fewer than 2 car parkings to be provided. 9 is the needs to be car parking set aside as shown on the endorsed plan. 10 is the stormwater management. 11 is the landscaping completion needs to be provided to council. 13, not more than 4 dogs can be kept on the site at any one time. 13 addresses the kennels, as was 14. 15 talks about dog management. 16 and 17 address feeding. 18 is to address fencing. 19 and 20 are to discuss or address the problems of waste disposal from the property. 21 addresses the owner to be on site or person to be on site to look after the animals. 22 is in compliance with the code of practice for the said activities. 23 is to address noise levels. 24 addresses the monitoring of noise levels. 25 is general amenities. And 26 is expiry of permit if not enacted.
So at this stage, councillor Tyson, you're moving that motion.
I am.
You're the mover.
I'm happy to second that, Madam
And
Mayor.
councillor Gaffney is the seconder. And we'll just be clear, ordinarily, we would read out all of the motion, but as you could hear, there are some 26 conditions with a number of items attached to each, but just so that, that people are aware, this is a motion for approval with the conditions that are set out under the headings that councillor Tyson has read. So councillor Tyson, you've moved the motion and councillor Gaffney has seconded. Would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. So the applicant has been in business serving the Beechworth and broader community for over 4 years. This is a completely different enterprise to our standard boarding kennels, which serve our area and is not a reflection of other providers. The service provides an in-house care, much the same as what our animals would have if they were in their own home. Whilst this is a premium product and probably wouldn't suit many people, it addresses those people in our communities who, for them, their dogs are not just an animal, they're part of their family. And it is distressing for them to think that their family is not going to be provided the same comforts that they have in their own home whilst they're staying somewhere else. And I believe that the service is respected within the community and broader, and that the applicant should be provided the opportunity to continue. Thank you.
Councillor Gaffney, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Councillor Tyson said, this business has operated for 4 years and to our knowledge, there's been no complaints. There are a large number of conditions. Some of them are onerous but can't be overcome. There is certainly a need for this. I've got a dog myself and probably most in this room have, and I know that places near this address are booked out until Christmas. So there's obviously a need. Talking to people in the community, they say how wonderful it is for their pets, and to some people, pets are their family. And I have no hesitation in seconding this motion from Councillor Tyson.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Tyson, would you like to sum up?
Yeah, in summary, I would like my fellow councillors to support the motion as it stands. There are quite a lot of conditions that need to be applied to it, and I feel that they will more than satisfy any community concern as to any complaints that were received. Thank you.
So I'll put the motion, which again is for approval, as set out by councillor Tyson. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 6 of the agenda is community and economic development. And we go to item 12.1. The Rutherglen Silo Art Precinct, draft business case and concept design report. This is a matter for decision. The recommendation is that council approve the release of the draft Rutherglen Silo Art Precinct report, business case and concept plan for public exhibition. And could I get somebody to move that? Councillor Shepherd. And Councillor Shepherd, will you have a mind to include a date that these might come back?
Yes, it should go out to public exhibition till the end of January, which was the 30th, is or 31st of January, whatever the last day of January is.
So the motion is now, as I've just read, with the 31st of January, moved by Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Croucher. Councillor Shepherd.
As is written in the report, this could be a game changer for Rutherglen, and the whole master plan, concept plan for that whole area has been part of the Rutherglen Place Plan project, been very well supported by them, and they've even gone into specifically looking at the senior sits area and what would happen there. So it's a gateway to Rutherglen really that they're looking for. So taking it from beyond just the silos at the moment into an arts tourism precinct and community precinct. At the moment, the silos are privately owned, but the concept is to be able to use the outside of them for light displays and AV showing. So it looks like a great concept, and if it can get off the ground, I think it'll be very exciting if we can get some funding for it. I think we've applied for some funding through the money that we have that the area has received, and this is one of our plans. So let's hope that this gets up for funding as well.
Councillor Croucher.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think this project has the possibilities of another tourism attraction for Rutherglen, along with its cycling tracks, wine, and general heritage scenery and culture. The planned project will also enhance the many charming aspects Rutherglen has to offer.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Gaffney.
I think it's worth noting that it's a business case and concept plan only. It's not saying that all of this is going to happen, but we're after community feedback on all aspects of it. It's quite a lengthy document, but I think you'll find it all very interesting, and looking forward to getting public submissions from the Rutherglen community.
Councillor Horn.
Yes, I think this is a really exciting opportunity for the people of Rutherglen and the many tourists that we have visiting the town to enjoy a whole lot of experiences and provide a lot of sort of social engagement opportunities as well. So yes, it's important that everybody has a look at it and contribute their ideas and aspirations.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 12.2 is the Rutherglen Geocaching Tourism Event, April 2023. It's an item for decision, and the recommendation is that council provides $6,000 in funding to Geocaching Victoria to stage a geocaching mega event in Rutherglen in April 2023. To have someone to move that. Councillor Tyson, seconded by Councillor Horn. Councillor Tyson, would you like to speak?
Yeah, for those who don't know what geocaching is, it's basically an organised treasure hunt used through an app on your phone. I think it just shows that how diverse the events are that come to Indigo Shire, and that how appealing we are outside of here to people to come in and hold events. We have large open areas, we have nice venues, and we have variety in both open and bushland, nice bush tracks and roads, which will all help for this event. Thank you.
Councillor Horn, would you like to speak?
Yes, this idea was brought to us by a local resident, and it's an international operation that's been going on for quite some time, and it's got quite a following. So it'll be interesting to see how it spans out, and we look forward to inviting lots of people to enjoy our town.
Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Croucher.
No, it's just another exciting event which will no doubt bring more tourists into the town and economically assist Rutherglen and the surrounding areas.
Anybody else? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 7 is infrastructure services, and we move to item 13.1, which is the October Capital Works report. It's an item for information. The recommendation is that council notes the October Capital Works report and year-to-date progress in the delivery of the Capital Works program, and 2, notes the estimated over budget expenditure associated with the Chiltern Community Hub project expenditure. Do I have someone to move that motion? Moved Councillor Croucher, seconded Councillor Tyson. Councillor Croucher.
The continued wet weather conditions have challenged the delivery of the Capital Works program, and it's quite understandable that there has been significant reductions in project delivery. However, despite these challenges, the infrastructure services team have done an excellent job in very trying conditions.
Councillor Tyson, would you like to speak?
Yeah, all I'd like to say is that despite the setbacks and some increased costs, the delivery of this particular venue is still very close to completion.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Would you like to sum up as the mover, Councillor Croucher? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 8 is executive management. We move to item 14.1, the Community Engagement Strategy 2022 to 2025. It's an item for decision. The recommendation is that council adopt the Indigo Shire Council Community Engagement Strategy 2022 to 2025. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Shepherd, do I have a seconder? Councillor Croucher. Councillor Shepherd?
This strategy has been out to the community. We had one submission in reply speaking about putting up sort of signage so that people could see important notices. And I think that's something we're going to be looking into anyway. So we appreciate that feedback. Thank you. Community engagement, I think we've really got quite good at it. And I'd like to thank the community engagement team. Well, there's not many of them, but thank you very much, because I really do think, as this strategy points out, we have got a number of ways that we engage with the community now. We have our advisory committees, we have our steering committees, we have the people who are on that large group on the email list that everything goes out to them, they're able to give feedback. We use all the Facebook pages, we use social media. I think we really are starting to get out to the community in good time, so that they have an opportunity to be part of the decision making. And that's really important to all of us, staff and councillors. We've really worked hard at trying to improve this, and we're always open to feedback on how we could improve more. So I think this is great that we've finally finished this group of community engagement documents and templates. And thank you very much for the work you've done on it. And thank you to the community for your input always.
Councillor Croucher, would you like to speak as seconder?
Just a couple of words. The Indigo Shire community has made it clear that they wish to be involved in the decisions that affect them. And the engagement framework shows that council is committed to community engagement. And I also would like to congratulate the team on their effort as ditto Councillor Shepherd.
Would anybody else like to speak? Councillor Horn.
Look, it's very important that the community does understand that engagement and consultation is such a vital part of our operation. And we've recently received quite a disappointing community survey result, illustrating the fact that we need to actually have some work done on our consultation and engagement. I'd just like to ask Melinda Collis, our Executive Manager, Experience and Engagement, if she could just outline the additional measures that have been taken to address the areas that have declined.
Thank you, Councillor Horn, for your question. Through you, Madam Mayor. The annual community satisfaction survey provides us with a benchmark against other rural councils throughout Victoria. What it doesn't do is enable us to drill down to find out exactly, what has led to any decline in services, in levels of satisfaction. So we don't really, we can use it as a benchmark. So the results from the community satisfaction survey, we've used those together with a lot of feedback that we got from the community through our budget survey that we did earlier this year. And we also went to the community in the development of our council plan. So we've received lots and lots of feedback from the community around how they want to engage. They've made it very clear, as Councillor Croucher said, that they have a really strong interest in being involved in council decision making. So in some respects, this strategy is a direct response to the feedback that we've received. And so we've got lots of actions in there. We've got a real strong commitment as an organisation to improve our engagement. So we're really hoping that through the work that we do, that we will see an increase in those satisfaction levels in the future.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Shepherd, would you like to sum up?
I think the more opportunity that the community has to be involved in the decision making, the more ownership they have in the decisions, and I think that's where where things improve in terms of communication and engagement. So I think the Rutherglen Place plan is a really good example of great community input and feedback, and some wonderful things are going to come out of that. So I think there'll be a lot of ownership. That's a great example of some good engagement.
Okay, so I'll put the motion that council adopt the Indigo Shire Council Community Engagement Strategy 2022 to 2025. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 14.2 is the Audit and Risk Committee Remuneration and Charter. It's an item for decision. The recommendation is that Council 1 approves the following change to the Audit and Risk Committee Charter, that the second paragraph under the heading Remuneration of Committee Members be replaced with, the Council will review the remuneration for non-councillor committee members annually by resolution of Council. Remuneration will be paid to the independent members for each meeting they attend, with a higher amount to be paid per meeting to the chair of the committee. Independent committee members will be reimbursed for travel required to attend meetings in accordance with the cents per kilometre figure approved in the enterprise agreement for council officers. On application to the CEO, independent members may also be eligible for reimbursement of accommodation costs in accordance with the council expense policy. And number 2, sets the remuneration for the non-councillor audit and risk committee members for each meeting as follows: $550 for the chair, $450 for other non-councillor members. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Gaffney, do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Gaffney.
Okay, Mayor Price and I are both members of the Audit and Risk Committee. We obviously don't get the remuneration, but the committee, the independent members of the committee are highly qualified. There's accountants and other people who are on other audit committees who've got a really large responsibility. They hold the executive of council to make sure that they abide by the rules. They look into finance and other matters. And I think that this is a very small amount to pay. It's really just out-of-pocket expenses.
Councillor Shepherd, would you like to speak as the seconder?
I absolutely agree that the audit committee is a very important committee and they are certainly of high expertise and experience and appreciate their input and they need to be paid. Yes.
Would anybody else like to speak? Before I ask the mover to sum up, I'd just like to say how important it is to be able to attract really high quality independent members to this committee. I've been on this committee for 6 years now. It provides invaluable insight to councillors, to the organisation. And so I'm really pleased to see that the remuneration and expenses is coming into line with other councils that we're always fighting to attract similar members from. So I'll ask the mover if he would like to sum up. Councillor Gaffney, no. So I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 14.3 is Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation Planning and Environment Act 1987. It's an item for decision. The recommendation is in the exercise of the powers conferred by Section 224 of the Local Government Act 1989 and the other legislation referred to in the Act attached instruments of appointment and authorisation. Indigo Shire Council resolves that 1, the members of council staff referred to in attachment 1 and 2 be appointed and authorised as set out in the instrument, and 2, the instruments in the attachments come into force immediately upon resolution of council and are revoked on the date the officers cease employment by council or until council determines to vary or revoke it. Can I have someone to move that? Councillor Gaffney, can I have a seconder? Councillor Tyson? Councillor Gaffney.
I think everybody in Indigo Shire knows that the planning department at Indigo Shire has been under the pump. We've lost a number of senior staff to other councils for a variety of reasons. And to have those vacancies now filled by another 3 planners, I think it's a credit to Director Pinkerton, who has been under the pump himself and doing a lot of work himself with very few staff. And I'm sure that these 3 new people will be of great assistance to him.
Councillor Tyson, would you like to speak as a seconder?
No, I'd just like to agree with Councillor Gaffney that hopefully the hard work of our director pays off with the staff he's recruited.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Back to you as the mover, Councillor Gaffney. Would you like to sum up?
I'm fine, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 14.4 is an item for information. It's contracts awarded under the CEO delegation in October 2022. The following contract was awarded by the CEO under delegation between the values of 250,000 and 500,000 for the month of October 2022. They're listed there in the agenda. I won't read them out. Moving on to item 14.5 is the informal meetings of councillors' records. It's an item for decision. The recommendation is that council accepts the attached informal meetings of councillor records. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Shepherd, a second to Councillor Croucher. Councillor Shepherd, would you like to speak?
It's really just a list of all the times the councillors have met.
Yeah. Councillor Croucher. Okay, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 14.6 is an item for decision. The recommendation, is the advisory committee minutes. It's an item for decision. The recommendation is that Council 1 receives the attached unconfirmed advisory committee minutes. 2, notes the following recommendation from the Indigo Shire Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee, and that the change be considered by council during the next council plan review. And that is A, that the language in 2 clauses be adjusted in the council plan as detailed in the table below. 3, notes the following recommendation from the Indigo Shire Community Grants and Awards Advisory Committee, and that the action has been completed. A, that council distributes $50,000 in the 2022-23 Indigo Shire Community Grants Program as per the attached spreadsheet. 4, notes the following recommendation from the Finance Committee and that the actions are completed. A, that council accepts the September 2022 finance report. B, that council adopts the Q1 variation as detailed in the report, including adjustments as detailed in the below table. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Horn. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Horn. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Speaking specifically in relation to the change in language for our council plan and when we next review it, language is important, and they just wanted to ensure that ours read as appropriately and as culturally sensitive as possible.
Would anybody else like to speak? Councillor Croucher.
I'd just like to mention that the advisory committees are certainly working well. I'm on 2 or 3 of them, and they're very worthwhile committees, and they're coming up with great recommendations that are serving our community really well.
Would anybody else like to speak? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 15 is notices of motion and there are none. Item 16 is councillors' report. Would any councillors like to make a report? Councillor Shepherd.
Last week, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, Councillor Goldsworthy and myself are members of the Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee, and that committee was invited to come up to the Shire, and we spent the 3 days going around the Shire to all the heritage committees, local museums and heritage sites, where they met with each of the committees, and they met with interested community members that had concerns or issues they wanted to raise around heritage. And it was a very worthwhile 3 days, really, with I think all of the small community groups and museums feeling very supported, and they were asked by these. If I could just quickly read you out the number of the people that are on it. Dr. Robin Hurst is the president of the Australian Museums and Galleries Association. Dr. Jonathan Sweet is a senior lecturer in cultural heritage and museum studies at Deakin. Elizabeth Marsden is collections and archives manager for RMIT. Roger Beeston is a registered architect and conservation consultant. Simone Nolan is the director of the Wangaratta Art Gallery and an arts professional. Dr. Ashley Robertson, executive director of AMAGA, which is the Australian Museums and Galleries Association. Dr. Daniel Cummins is manager of the Hume Heritage Programs for Aboriginal Victoria. Associate Professor Bruce Penney is an historian based at Charles Sturt University. So they, thank you for allowing me to read them, but they are an amazing group of experts in the area of heritage, and to have them here for 3 days, looking at all, familiarising themselves with the Shire, finding out what people's concerns were. They were excited and very engaged, and they're all working, as you can see from whatever, they're all working full-time, all very busy people, and they took those 3 days out as volunteers to come and speak. So I'd like to thank Cameron Orty, thank you, and Ashley for the work they did in creating this program and getting them up here. So yeah, a really great 3 days.
And perhaps a summary of that could go into our next weekly update as well, just so that we can make the community aware of the different connections that committee was able to make. Anybody else have a councillor report? Councillor Goldsworthy.
Just to add on to what Councillor Shepherd has said, it was a valuable experience for myself as a councillor and also for the community. It's certainly a good learning experience, and the information that they were able to provide was valuable. And if we were paying for it, it would have been a very expensive advice that they give. And we're just so fortunate to have such quality people give us advice. And it's important that we take heed of it and that we use this committee as best we can.
Thank you. Councillor Gaffney, you had a report?
Yes, I would. I'd just like to mention that during the week, Mayor Price and I met with Victoria Police Domestic Violence Unit and people from the Centre Against Violence. It was good to represent the people of Indigo Shire and show our support. Victoria Police had 4 members there and there would have been 6 from the Centre Against Violence. It's a most important issue and I think it's good that council has got involved and there's now people who we can contact if we need to. It was a very good event.
Councillor Horn, you had a councillor report?
I just had a question about the Heritage Committee. Of those people that were in that tour, how many of them were local people?
Simone Nolan is local and Bruce Penney. And Dan Cummins, yeah, 3, yeah.
Thank you.
And they met with each of the local historical groups and Athenaeums, did they?
Yes, you'd be pleased to hear that they met with the new Rutherglen committee and it was a really great meeting, yeah.
Councillor Croucher.
Yes, and they even come out to Tangambalanga, so there you are. I'd like to just mention my visit to Chiltern last week, where I met with local representatives from right throughout the Shire to consider the nominations for the Australian Day various awards that will be taking place. It was very, very good to see the local community get together to keep those awards going.
I'd like to mention a couple myself. Council received a presentation from the Youth Ambassadors. That's an annual program that the Shire conducts with, I think it's grade 5 students from lots of our different primary schools. It was really interesting to see they had to give a presentation to us and a large number of adults. There was the whole spectrum of nerves and confidence, as you would imagine, and I shared their nerves for that day because that was the day I was particularly nervous that I might or might not become the mayor as well. So they did a really good job. It was really interesting to hear from a couple of the parents just how important that program is for some of the children with heightened levels of anxiety and the progress that they've been able to make through that program. It's really valuable. And I just thank the staff that were able to put it on, in particular, Luciana, who's one of our youth officers. I'd make mention of one other meeting that Councillor Gaffney and myself attended on the Thursday, which was the Hume Region Local Government Network meeting. Obviously, the main focus, as you might be able to guess, was roads and the infrastructure that we need to advocate for, with the assistance of the acting CEO and the acting Director of Infrastructure. Councillor Gaffney and I went well armed with exactly what Indigo Council needs to continue to advocate for in terms of roads and the gaps in the infrastructure that we will be funded to re-establish. And at that meeting, I just wanted to note to the council that there was a motion, I don't have the exact wording, but it was requesting to the state government to fund councils for damaged roads, bridges and other infrastructure. And the basis of that motion was that they have to be built back better. So the infrastructure that goes in has to be, as it says, built back better. And so that was a motion that was put and endorsed by that committee, a really powerful advocacy committee for the region. Would any other councillor like to make a councillor report? No. So item 16.1 is the Mayor's diary for October, which is of course Councillor Gaffney's diary. It's there for information if any councillors had any questions. Item 9 is the decision register. So again, for information, the decisions register is at 17.1 and the report outlines actions from council resolutions as at 31 October 2022, including those not previously listed as completed but not resolutions to note a report. Item 18 is general business. Do we have any general business? Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, I just wanted to thank the Indigo Shire Youth for Climate Action, who you might not have heard of, but they've been working for 2 and a bit years as a youth group supporting climate action in the Shire. They came about during COVID, really. It was all those young people that came back to the Shire, back to the bosom of their family. And it was at the time that we were doing our climate strategic action plan, and they felt that they needed to have input. So they set on their own, they set up a number of Zoom meetings around the Shire and collected feedback and gave it to us. They gave us 3 recommendations to add to the strategy, and we did take them on. So they've also done a lot of work. They ran something in the town hall here where the whole of the Indigo Shire youth were invited, and they did leadership and projects around climate action. And it was an amazing couple of days. So, and there's a whole list of other things that they've done. So I just like to, the thing is, they've all gone back to university, they've all gone back out into the world, but they're absolutely umbilically tied to Indigo Shire. So it's great to know they're out there. It's great to know that they're going to become the leaders in the future at Indigo Shire. And I just like to thank them for the work that they've done with our youth and around climate action. I wonder whether we can do something, send them an email or a letter or something to thank them. The people involved are Ella, Bridget, Charlie, Ali, and the rest of the team. I think it's a small team. Thanks.
I think we could send an email.
On behalf of the Shire
behalf
for
of the
the,
council.
yeah, because I just don't want them to slowly to quietly leave the this space. I think we should need to celebrate the fact that for that 2 and a bit years, they've done a great job.
Councillor Goldsworthy, general business.
It is. I'd support what Councillor Shepherd is proposing as well. My general business relates to our swimming pool. I've got a request for action that we re-examine the clause that permits Belgravia to not open our swimming pools if the temperature is below 23 degrees. If we could have a look at that and see if there's some more amenable and practical solution that allows our community to swim when they want to. But also taking into consideration the expense of that. So a better way to balance it. My second request is that in about 3 to 4 weeks, if we can do a bit of a pulse survey on the participants in our swimming pools to see if the alteration in swimming times is working, whether it's effective just because we've changed a few by half an hour or an hour here and there.
Okay, so that'll be captured. Does anybody else have any items for general business? Councillor Horn.
In light of the flooding and damage to roadworks and things like that, I would like to reiterate a question I asked back last year as to what is the trigger for the Shire to actually review all the current projects because of the extenuating circumstances we find ourselves in after bushfires and floods and COVID, etc., and also the threat of looming depression.
So is that question to the acting CEO? You know it?
Thanks, Councillor Horn. Look, I'll do my best and have a go at that. I'm not aware that there is a trigger. I think it's incumbent on all of us to monitor the circumstances that we operate in, our budgets, the circumstances that you've described that, will impact on our community. I'm certainly, seeing, as everyone is right now, some real challenges. I don't see anything in our services that we deliver currently outside anything that we're doing that we need to stop and pause. I think if you look at our capital works program, it is really big. There's a lot of things such as roads. A lot of our capital works have sort of come through grants. So there's, funding tied to specific projects, specific outcomes. A lot of those have come our way in the last 2 to 3 years. We've seen a lot of grant success. So that's sort of during the period, since we've had fires during the COVID era, floods more recently. We will see a continued injection of government funding. So we're aware of the local roads and community infrastructure program. So that's already delivered us, I think, around $3 million. So there's another couple of rounds of that, still to come to be allocated into things. So I think your question is about what's the trigger that causes us to stop and pause and look at everything we're doing. I don't think there is one. I think it's one that we just need to collectively monitor and work on and work together. I don't know that I can provide any better clarity than that, but happy to explore further.
Councillor Goldsworthy, you've got a question?
I'm just wondering what evidence you have that there's a looming depression.
After all these events, and when we look at the projects that we've got going through, a lot of them based on data from 2018 reports, and yeah, we've had all these remarkable things happen to us in the meantime. So just as we would with our own personal budgets, we stop and reassess the situation based on what's happening here and now, rather than just going forward with existing plans.
It's just the definition of a depression is like 3 or more consecutive years of economic decline and significant of recession, basically. And I don't think we've hit that yet.
Well-
I'd hate to alert the community to something that isn't
Okay, I
occurring.
think we'll
Perhaps
move on from
depression
there.
is a better word than recession, yeah.
Okay, I think we will ask any more items for general business. No. Okay, so item 10 is, item 19.1 is going to be a confidential item. So that means that we need to ask the gallery to
I'd
leave.
like to move a motion, Madam Mayor, that the council meeting be closed to the public in accordance with section 66 of the Local Government Act. And the circumstances being the meeting is considered confidential information as defined in section 3 of the Local Government Act.
Thank you for being so preemptive. I'll get the seconder for that motion is Councillor Croucher. Just wait till we get. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, and could we just take a vote? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. So we're now in confidential. I'll turn my microphone off. So I'll declare the meeting closed at 7:38 PM with the next council meeting to be held on Tuesday, the 13th of December, 2022. Thank you for attendance.